Okay, well, welcome to the RChain Community Hangout. I have several updates. One of the nicest ones was we had a really great presentation to the Ethereum meetup here in Seattle at Perkins Coie. So I think the presentation was well received, and many thanks to Christian for recording it. So that's up on YouTube, right? Or
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got to get the slides from you guys to do some editing and post. But other than that, yeah, all the audio is up there. So
yeah, the slides, I pasted the links to the slide on general as well.
Okay, I'll get it from you. And then, Greg, we can sort out yours on QuickTime or whatever sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that. So I think, again, it was well received. One of the members of the audience was David Otto from Otto Capital, and I think he really he spoke highly of the presentation. I really appreciated Ed's presentation. It turns out my mother was there. She's here visiting, and so she came down to my presentation. She asked some really good questions. So I thought that was it was nice because it helped bring it. You know, I tend to be somewhat mathematical and technical in my presentations, and she wanted to know, how her life would change in this new decentralized world. And so that I thought that really helped the audience in general get a good understanding. We also had some other nice participants. We had our CFO, Lisa, the CFO of the holdings company, Lisa Rice, was there, and Nash Foster from Pyrofex is there. He provided a lot of good counterpoint as well. So I was very, very pleased. And as of today, we received the Master Services Agreement. So let's see, when was it? Was it last Friday? Ed, that you and Navneet and Nash and I met to hash out some of the details of the agreement with. Yeah. So we got further details on that. Nash has a really exciting, not just an exciting vision about how to revitalize communities that have been kind of left in the dust a little bit in this country and others. But he also has some. So, and it's actually worth pointing out. I hope folks don't mind if there's a bit of a ramble this morning, because I think some of these concepts are really important, and they're connected in interesting and strange ways. But Nash has this idea of going into sort of economically challenged communities and helping them out by setting up data centers. So you work with local and regional banks. You work with local community colleges and universities. You can buy an old warehouse inside one of these less fortunate communities and set up data centers, and thereby build out a kind of grassroots infrastructure. And he's argues convincingly that there's a kind of tail on the existing coins for mining operations that's still quite profitable. But then that feeds into the next wave of proof of stake networks. So that's in this way you could build up a grassroots infrastructure for RChain validators, which I think is a really interesting and a really powerful idea. And one of the things I want to avoid is, which is rapidly happening with the Ethereum network, is that most of the validation or mining is sitting inside Azure or Google or Amazon, because that's not actually decentralized. And Nash's impulse and sort of business plan is very, very much in alignment with decentralization. So I was very excited about that. But then he also has a really nice idea about how, maybe if he joins us, he can talk a little bit about the way he's thinking about contracts on RChain, because I think there's a significant economic opportunity there as well.
Question on this: a new blockchain just started in the month of April called VTrust on the Ethereum blockchain. It has a similar idea of
a similar idea of what? Could you repeat that? Hello? Was that Rashad? I can't hear you if you're saying anything.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I got knocked out. Is it my connection knocked out? I was mentioning the blockchain VTrust. It has a similar idea of local networks for economic prosperity, which is so I thought you might find that interesting.
Cool, thanks. Thanks. I'll give it a look. Well, it sounds very interesting.
On that, I'm sorry to cut in real quick, but on that note, is the intention for the holdings company to invest in these data centers, or would they be independent and they propose like, hey, we got this, impoverished neighborhood and there's a warehouse and we want to set up a data center and partner up?
So go ahead. Yeah, it's certainly interesting to continue the conversation. It's a new idea, and we've got time to explore it.
Awesome, great answer. I think I have some areas in St. Pete that would be interested.
That's great. That's great. Well, we're hoping that Nash will join the community hangout next week, and he can present some of this. I think this it could be a really fruitful conversation. Let's see. Ed, did you have any organizational updates you wanted to give?
I agree with your comments on the presentation. It was interesting that we didn't really advertise it that much locally here in Seattle. Yet a large number of the Ethereum community locally came, which was surprising to me, very pleasant and great conversation. So there's definitely interested in these topics that we have. Joe and Nathan are continuing working on a video that will be on the co-op site hopefully in a matter of weeks. That's progressing nicely. It's an animation of what sets RChain apart. I've been working on forecasting and pitch work, tying that into video as well. Navneet, Greg, and I will be in New York City the week of May 22nd for Consensus 2017 and Token Summit conferences. I sent some draft job postings to Nash to work out. These are postings essentially for platform developers, and so look forward to getting those on the website. But also, if there's anyone out there that has contacts that know functional programming, that know formal methods, that want to work at the core platform level, ideally that have Scala or Haskell expertise, please send them our way. And I also just wanted to acknowledge that there's a desire that has been on the Slack for some clarity around summarizing the ROC distribution and AMP exchange process, and I'm having conversations with Greg offline about how to best communicate a couple of elements of that. But I just wanted to acknowledge that we're quite aware that people want some additional data around that.
Agreed. One of the things that I've been waiting for is I gave people a window of time for their target, their amps to hit the target addresses, because a lot of people issued the transactions, but with very low transaction fees associated with them. So there's been a lot of transactions that have kind of trickled in over time. Also, some people were confused about the process, so yeah, we gave them time to sort that out. And I mentioned that on Slack that we're giving people a window before we would completely close out any further processing of the redemption requests that had already been issued. So we weren't taking any new redemption requests. Thank you. But of the ones that had been submitted, there were some where the target amps hadn't hit, or the amps hadn't hit the target address yet. So that window is closing out. I think it's today. I need to go back and check the calendar. But that window is closing out. And once we have all of those completely processed, then we can give all that data. So that's one of the reasons why we haven't responded with the data right away, because there's still some fluctuation.
Got it. Okay, that's all the updates I had.
Yeah. So I met with Christian yesterday. We had a really good meeting. I enjoyed that. Thanks, Christian, for trekking on out to our local market here in West Seattle.
No problem. I got an update for you after this call too, or for our meeting tomorrow. Peter apparently wants to meet up at 10 a.m. So I think it's just better if we all meet up. Peter Besnes, I think that's in the cards. Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. And then, and one of the things that we're going to do is to do some interviews with Nash and Mike Stay and myself and Ed and Avni. You're welcome to join. But essentially what we're going to do is talk about the kind of developer we want. So that can be like also available as a video resource with links to the job descriptions, so people can get a sense of, these are the kinds of problems we're solving. These are, if this is the kind of technology that excites you, and you want to talk about this on a monthly, weekly, daily, or hourly basis, then come and contact us. So I think that's going to be a good outreach, because I think a lot of people that we want to reach out to, especially the younger developers, are ones who kind of taken information through the video media. So I think that's going to be a good thing. Also, just so people are aware, we got notification from MFPS. We were supposed to hear about our paper this week, but apparently they extended the deadline. So there's another couple of weeks or so before we find out whether or not the papers, at least the first paper that went to MFPS, is accepted. I'm excited. At least they didn't say, well, even though we're still deliberating, you're out of the running.
Wait, Greg, I thought the acceptance thing was postponed. Did you get?
That's what I was just saying. It was postponed. That's exactly. Okay. That's precise. Mike, you're here. Yay. Everybody welcome Mike.
Hi.
Hey, Mike. Glad you're here.
Welcome.
And it looks like is Nash here as well?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Well, first of all, Nash, I really appreciated your engagement at the presentation at Perkins Coie on Monday night. That was great.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get to hang around a little bit longer after the presentation, but
no worries. Go ahead.
I was going to say I was really excited by the number of people and the quality of the folks that were there, and so hopefully, we'll stay engaged with everybody and pull those people in. It was really promising.
Yeah. I felt this. I felt the same way. So, I don't know if you guys were on when I was mentioning that Christian wants to do a couple of interviews where we kind of talk about the kind of developer that we want. So maybe we can go through some technical conversation about what it is we're working on, and then sort of say what kind of skills, and that way it'll be a unique jobs posting. and so if you're interested, we'll set up and again, it can be done over Zoom. We can do the recording that way. And I think that'll be very useful.
Was Christian the one that was doing the AV at the?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If you want to set something up where we all get together physically, you might get better production value out of it, and I can do that. So we can definitely.
Yeah. Or we can bring as many people in as can come without forking over loads of cash for airplane tickets.
Yeah, I mean, in the interest of the rest of the community, we could take logistics offline, but that's definitely, I think, worth doing if we're gonna put that stuff up. So let's talk about it after.
Sweet. Let's see, any other updates that are percolating here. I can't think of any. I would really like in the next few weeks. There is one other update. So we're kind of having a little bit of a special summit in June, where Alex Balkin from Coin Fund and Joseph Denman and Andrew Watson and I are going to, spend a week kicking out the Rolang tutorial. So in June, we're going to just, close it, sequester ourselves, and just get the Rolang tutorial done. Which means that between now and then, I'm going to kick out all the stops and try to get the compiler as far along as possible for that to support the tutorial, so that those two efforts kind of fit together. The tutorial should therefore be working with running code. Now there won't at that point we won't have the storage layer quite ready to be able to make some of the blockchain semantics, the storage layer or the consensus algorithm implemented in order to make some of the blockchain semantics readily available to the sample code. But a lot of the sample code should be executable by that point. So I think that should be quite exciting. And probably what we should do is document again some of that working process with video. So Christian, that would be another place where we could potentially reach out to developers.
Right. Yeah. Because I know quite a few people are interested, but once there's really clear language on you need to know X before you come to the dinner table, then that really helps streamline the process and gets people engaged. So. Yeah.
So it's again, I've tried to be a little careful about that, a little circumspect, because we don't. It's not necessarily what you know. It's more. That helps, but we're really looking for people with, agility and flexibility of mind. When Nash and Ed and Navneet and I spoke, one of the things I said was we're looking for the kind of person who can learn a programming language at breakfast. So that's really the sort of person that we're looking for right now, is people for whom absorbing a new language is not a big deal. And so it's not necessarily a formal methods, functional programming, concurrency theory. All of those things are good things to have, but those are really signs and signals that you've got the kind of acumen to take on these sorts of technical challenges. Okay, let's see. Anything else? Any questions coming from the community? We know that there were questions about the AMP distribution. We've tried to address those. Are there any other questions that need to be addressed? Anyone noticing anything in Slack? Oh, I do want to say one thing about Slack, but let me just see if there's any other questions. Nothing burning? Okay, so I don't know about other people, but I'm finding Slack so noisy that it's hard for me to engage there. Are other people having that same experience?
Yep. This is going to happen once we set the channel. So, but you know, some people like it, some people don't like it. I talked to Ed about it over dinner after the meetup, and he said that, you know, we should just leave it raw and unfiltered in a sense. You can't just have people like dropping viruses like we had before. But I mean, yeah, I just personally feel that you know, something like Discord, you can manage things a lot tighter. Security is also better. Or we have to really sit here and design Slack so that it is manageable, I think.
Well, I think in Slack, when I was saying leave it raw is to not, you know, moderate everything, but, you know, there are a few individuals that are creating a lot of the noise that probably could be either coached or warned about, you know, certain behavior, and then if that doesn't tamper down, remove them. But that can still be a raw, and it can start out as a community feedback kind of event.
Yeah. I just don't want to get to the point where I just don't even pay attention to Slack because it's just too noisy. And I want people to have ways in which they can reach directly to the co-op and to the holdings.
I feel like everyone has a different opinion on how to do that, though, because like these hangouts have been going on for 2 years now, and it's very rare to get over 15 people on a call. So not everyone wants to come on for a video call. Some people just like to spam chat rooms. So it like the engagement level, it's like everyone has a different opinion on, you know, how they should be communicating. So it's really difficult. You raised a good point, and I think our relationship with the community has to be multimodal, right? So that's something that I wholeheartely am committed to, right? So there's these kinds of community calls. There's the Slack channels. I am personally going to begin a new blog for RChain, so that should be happening in the next few weeks. I will document more of the Casper work there now. I'll document the compiler work and the work that's going on in the tutorial. So I'm going to try to make that blog as technical as possible.
As far as Slack goes, my brother-in-law is an editor for a very popular science fiction author who doesn't have the time to deal with the social media. Part of my brother-in-law's job is to handle the social media aspects, answer questions, filter out the crap, and pass on the good questions and interesting stuff to the author. So it might be worth hiring someone at minimum wage-ish to filter your social media and you know, give you the good questions.
Yeah, this is always the challenge, right? Filtered versus raw. And yeah, but both of them have their upsides, and both of them have their.
Yeah, the other thing I think it's like for me, you know, there's no law here, so it's not like I don't have to respond to you. I mean, it's courtesy, like, you know, you guys put in a lot of work answering questions, but there's nothing that says like Ed and Ed and Greg has to answer questions between these hours, or, you know, maybe that's something that we could do. But that's, again, that goes back to, like, this is the point of the hangout. You come on and ask questions, or you hit somebody up, hey, can you ask these questions during the hangout? So I mean, it's just sort of, you understand what I'm getting at? It's just kind of a conundrum a little bit.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I think the one thing that I don't like about Slack in general is just it's not super searchable, and the history thing is a big deal. So if someone is quite prolix or verbose, then history just gets erased.
Isn't it? It could be possible for there to be a members only chat area, and that could be a simpler way to move to something like a Discord or something like that.
I like that suggestion. I think that's probably something that we should implement, is that co-op membership also gives you access to certain communication channels. I think that's a very good suggestion, and unless I hear significant opposing argument there, I think that's probably something that we should do. Great idea. So that we can set up, for example, an RChain co-op Discord, and access to that is provided when you are a member. Speaking of which, do we have any updates on membership? I know that Evan has been driving that. I'm not sure he's here today. Anyone have a chance to review Evan's draft yet?
So I looked at his agreement paper, and I've been drafting up an actual page for the co-op website for that purpose. We meant to finalize it in the members meeting. Unfortunately, HJ couldn't come up. So today or tomorrow, once we get specific things nailed down, it should be live, at least for, I don't know how to call it, but, maybe pre-registration or something along those lines that is a little bit less official of a registration, because we do need Evan to finalize the language of his agreement. And then also if we could get consensus on how the actual page, the language on the page, then after that we should be good to go.
I think that's a great, that's a good effort. Just one of the things that we discussed with David Otto and many of the board members on Thursday of last week was making sure that we had all our ducks in the row with respect to the Washington state requirements on membership and any issues around fiscal responsibility as relates to corporate legal infrastructure with respect to membership. Evan was pointing that there were specific things that we had to do in order to be compliant. And so we have to make sure that all of that is covered as well. And I think both David Otto in the role of counsel to the co-op and Evan also in the role of counsel to the co-op had specific concerns around that. It's also, another interesting topic came up, and probably it's it's always interesting as to whether we discuss these. But one of the things that was pointed out was that there's an attack vector via the membership, right? So as the co-op accrues more and more resources, if members can vote in the board, then someone can pay out a bunch of people to become members and then vote accordingly, and then seize control of the board of the co-op, and thereby have undue influence on the resources that the co-op has been accumulating. So.
I thought about that.
Wonders never cease.
I thought about that 2 months ago, but it's very expensive to do that because it's not like minors. You have to convince people of specific points. So.
No, you really don't. For example, let's say that there are $10 million in the co-op's coffers, just to pick a round number. Okay. And then so a 10-to-1 payout, one could pay $10 to what is that? 100,000 people, and they all become members and vote one way, right? Or $100.
Yeah, but there's no profit in that. So that's just what you want, right? Like, you want people to be able to join the co-op and then do whatever the group decides is the correct thing. If the group decides the correct thing is a payout where all the members split the equity evenly, then that's what the membership decides, right? It's not an attack unless some disproportionate amount goes to some individual who's making a profit.
No, but that's exactly the model I was pointing out. So Gangster G pays $100 to 10,000 people, right? And says, if you get $100 now, and you get 500 later, and so they're making whatever it is, $600 to do a couple of button clicks and to issue a vote. And Gangster G walks away with whatever it is, $5 million. That's an attack. Do you understand the model that I probably haven't described it very clearly?
No, I got it. I had missed a zero in your last one.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, and I think this is especially a concern the first year when the membership is low, and the one meeting in October could change a lot of the shape of the co-op quite a bit. It's going to be less of an issue as time goes on. But also, if we don't have careful KYC, which I don't necessarily want, by the way, but if we don't have it, then this attack is easier because those 10,000 people could really be the same person.
Right. So these are these are wonderful problems to have, but they're very perplexing, because it's the same. It's, to me, in my weird worldview, it's very similar to what goes on in Slack. We want there to be this open, porous interface whereby anyone can come and talk with folks who are in the co-op, and yet at the same time, if people misuse the interface or engage in a way that is clearly unbalanced or unhealthy, then the interface becomes one that isn't well attended or isn't used appropriately. And, a lot of the agency that could be collected around that interface it goes away. So the same thing here. We don't want these rigid control structures, but there has to be some kind of container here that's going to allow us at least to get the nodes out the door before the wolves come in and take all the resources.
So with regards to the resources, one, I thought the directors have some sort of fiduciary responsibility. Secondly, in order to move any type of funds in any dimension, you actually also have to be. Don't you also have to be in a state of Washington? There has to be legal documentation signed over in some capacity to move the equity or those funds?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not just like, okay, attack vector comes in, sign over the keys, okay, disperse the funds, done. You got robbed. That just seems magical to me. Like, how exactly will it go down?
I certainly agree that scenario is magical, but if someone pays whatever it is, 10,000 people to vote a particular way, what happens is that person or that agent becomes, say, for example, president and CFO of the co-op, at which point they've consolidated signatory power.
Okay.
All right. And there's no, I have to check with Evan, but I don't believe that the president or the CFO have to be residents of Washington State.
Okay, but so doesn't there still have to be some sort of board, a vote on the board to get something passed? So, okay, if I'm the bad actor who's now the CFO and I put a proposal in, the board has to vote on it and it can get turned down.
Right, but the board could be, again, made up of,
okay,
essentially.
So, right. So Trent McConaughey had a solution to this. One was like the actual board members are anonymous, and they all get pulled in from different nonprofits. So his board is all made up of they're all anonymous. It's kind of weird. You have to talk to him about that solution because I feel Big Chain DB has thought this through.
Okay, no, it's I'll talk to Trent about it. Actually, I was thinking about heading out to Berlin anyway to talk to some developers I'd like to court there. So yeah.
Can I come with you, Greg?
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that I'll talk to Trent about that. That's a good idea. But anyway, I mean, honestly, I don't think we're going to be the target of serious attack right away, but it is something we have to think about, and it is something we are worried about. And it's interesting how much, as soon as people start thinking about this, people have a lot of ideas. Okay. Any other interesting issues or things that we need to talk about?
I'll just mention that 32 people filled out the pre-registration and have been added to the Google group, email group, which is one venue where we can reach members.
Excellent. Good. So we'll also connect that into this setting up members only channels. Cool. All right. So that's good news. Jim, can I talk to you? Do you have time later this week to talk about the privacy workshop? I'd like to communicate with you on that.
Yes, I definitely do. I've found very few of my colleagues that are going.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Ed, did we hear from Drummond Reed that he was going to be attending that, or was I?
That's correct. Yeah, he'll be next week in I forget, Palo Alto or somewhere near there. Is that the one?
I think that's the one. Yeah. He'll be there. Okay. All right. So we may want to coordinate and have RChain representation there, and get and see if we can also connect with Drummond Reed.
Right. Are you planning to attend?
I would like to very much, but right now it's a little. I have a lot of things on my plate. So.
Yeah. Ideally, we would want put together an RChain session.
Oh yes, that would be ideal. I just don't know if I can respond in time because I'm still dealing with a lot of.
And it may be that maybe you could participate remotely.
Yeah.
And the way it works is there's a big board where you propose these groups and people sign up for them.
Oh, it's like an unconference.
Yeah, there's no agenda.
Fantastic. That's great. Cool. All right. Well, I'll
we'll try to set something up and maybe we can get people to participate remotely. In fact, we could even we might have been I don't know if we're going to have the members meeting next week or not. We might even try to schedule it for before this meeting or something. I don't know.
Cool. All right, great. So one last thing, just to remind everyone who is participating, the Dev Standup moved to 5:35 Pacific Daylight Time on Wednesdays. So Kent, I think that meshes with your schedule. Is that correct?
Yes, it does indeed. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Great. And I'm pretty sure that meshes with David Curran's schedule. And just making sure Mike and Nash that's lines up for you still. Looks like Mike maybe left, but cool. All right. So we get to yield back 16 minutes, unless there are any burning issues that we need to talk about.
Yeah, maybe 15. One more question real quick. Who completely is the dev team right now? Is Andrew considered on the dev team?
Andrew Watson is a part of the dev team. That's right.
Okay. All right. That's all I need to know.
So there's kind of an implicit question in there, Patrick, which is, are the devs okay having their names listed on the website? And
right.
Assume that.
Well, I asked every person individually except Andrew, and everybody's okay. And I had to clarify with Andrew.
Okay, thank you for doing that, Patrick.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Yeah, really appreciate you taking that on. Awesome, and actually, it's going to be great to have that kind of information on the website. It helps a lot. All right. Well, okay, then it's still 16 minutes that we're building back. Thanks, Christian, for running these, for recording them, and see you guys next week.
Yep, later on. Peace.